It's a significant time in Norwalk's history with many issues on the table, so we expect an informative and engaging debate this morning. And it is my honor to introduce our moderator for this debate, Kristin Okesson, Senior Vice President with Connoisseur Media Connecticut, and Kristin is also the Vice Chair of the Chamber Board. Take it away, Kristin.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, everyone, and thank you to the Greater Norwalk Chamber for hosting this debate today, and of course, to the candidates for being here and to everyone who has logged on. I'm going to read some of the guidelines for this morning's debate, and then we'll get started. Each candidate will be asked the same question, with the candidates alternating as to who will answer first and rebut last. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer a question, and each candidate will also have 30 seconds with which to rebut. Thus, 90-second response from candidate 1, 90-second response from candidate 2, 30-second rebuttal from candidate 1, and 30-second rebuttal from candidate 2, and again, alternating order with each question. For the 90-second answer, candidate will be alerted by me when 50 seconds remain. I will hold up this sign, and then I will tell you that your time has expired. I'm joined in the room with a timer. There will be no opening statements, but each candidate will be given a closing statement of 2 minutes with the order determined by a coin toss. For the closing statement, the candidate will be alerted when 15 seconds remain. I will be the moderator, and the overall debate will be timed. The questions to be asked were generated by the members of the Greater Norwalk Chamber of Commerce. The total debate time today will be approximately 45 minutes. So today I am joined by Mayor Rilling, the Democratic incumbent, and Mr. Jonathan Riddle, the Republican challenger. Are we ready? Please make sure that you're off Zoom as well. Okay. Question number 1 for Mayor Rilling. And this is a very chamber-like question. In attracting new businesses and commercial development to Norwalk, what do you believe are the greatest strengths of Norwalk?
Well, thank you very much, and thank you to the Chamber. Norwalk is a wonderful and vibrant community. It's growing. People are starting to look at Norwalk differently than they used to many years ago. It's interesting because Norwalk now, we're growing, but we're growing in the right way. And people want to live here, people want to work here, people want to send their children to our schools. The greatest strengths of Norwalk, our schools, our location, our vibrancy. We have a chief of economic and community development who is constantly looking for new businesses to bring into Norwalk. We have a director of business and tourism, also doing the same things. We constantly keep in touch with our businesses, small and large, to see how the city of Norwalk can help them, what we need to do to help them flourish in our community. And we have this wonderful dialogue back and forth. I don't want to discount the Norwalk Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Norwalk Chamber of Commerce, who's a wonderful partner with the city of Norwalk in helping us attract businesses, helping us work together with businesses. So it's really something that Norwalk has that not many other places have. It's interesting, Norwalk was just named, and I was going to bring this in later, but I'll bring it in now, at number 59 of the top 100 places to live in the country. I think that's remarkable, and I think people want to be here.
Thank you. Mr. Jonathan Riddle.
It's funny. I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day, and I'm Bill Murray, because as I was rewatching the debates of 2 years ago, this is the same regurgitation and message that he had 2 years ago. So recycled messages. I think that with Norwalk, it's the greatest opportunity is that we have the greatest potential where we are located on the water. It's a beautiful area, and the city is so attractive. And we need to do a better job of being a business development manager for the city. We have an unbelievable amount of space to bring in new businesses as well as corporate offices. And we need to leverage our location, improve our traffic disaster in order to make Norwalk even more attractive as well as improve our schools. So we have a tremendous amount of potential over the next 2 years, especially to redevelop this city and bring in the businesses that are going to bring in jobs, as well as create a better outlook and quality of life here.
Mayor Rilling, 30-second rebuttal.
Yes, I'm not sure my opponent realizes it, but over the past year and a half, over 400 new businesses have opened in Norwalk. That's during the pandemic. I think we're doing quite well. We also have a citywide traffic study ongoing right now. We've hired a traffic and parking person so that we can do the best we can and make things better. Are we perfect? No, but we're great and we will continue to get better.
Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
After 8 years, I think we've seen a decline in the business climate here in Norwalk. We've seen massive businesses leave Norwalk, and Priceline is looking to exit. Diageo left, along with it a lot of jobs. You just saw the report of an energy company that has taken a tax break and removed an immense amount of jobs. So I don't think that the current administration has done a very good job for our business climate here.
Thank you. Second question, and the first response will be Mr. Riddle. Conversely, looking at the other side of Norwalk, what areas and elements in Norwalk need enhancement and expansion, and how would you specifically address these shortcomings?
Sure. So the first element that needs to be fixed is the traffic disaster, as I mentioned. Going around Norwalk this morning in the rain, it is just a horrid situation right now. Traffic is horrible. East Avenue is flooded, and that bridge you cannot even pass going underneath the train station. The parking study, the parking authority has been a thorn in every single resident's side. It's my intention to promote free Norwalk parking for those that have their car registered in Norwalk and have paid their property taxes. We pay enough taxes in this city where we should get free city parking. We already do it at the beach, and we can extend that to the rest of the city. That'll drive a lot of businesses to local storefronts where right now people don't want to go into the downtown areas because of the horrible parking situation, as well as the traffic. So I think improving those two elements is going to create a much kinder and inviting business climate for Norwalk, and also bring in new businesses.
Mayor Rilling.
Parking is a challenge in any community. The business community has asked us not to put free parking in the downtown area, because what was happening was people who live in that area or people who work in that area at some of the local restaurants and shops would park in the free parking spaces and remain there all day. That would not allow the turnover that businesses count on to have that turnover, so more people can come in, more people can shop. Traffic, yeah, we do have a traffic study going. We have the traffic mobility and parking. We're trying to develop around our urban core, develop around our train stations, smart development, the right kind of development, so that people wouldn't have to rely so heavily on vehicles. They can go into the city on the train. They can commute. They can come home. We want to make our community more walkability, more bicycle friendly. This way we keep cars off the road, and at the same time, we reduce our carbon footprint, which is extremely, extremely important.
For the rebuttal, 30 seconds, Mr. Riddle.
Thank you, Kristin. Routinely I've heard, we're doing a study, we're doing a study, we're doing a study. And this was true 2 years ago. This was true 4 years ago. It's always a study. There's no action being taken, and people are fed up. I'm going to take action as mayor. I'm going to fix these problems immediately. We're not going to be doing studies and endless studies, and we're not going to be putting density in our downtown areas. We're going to thoughtfully redevelop and put the proper buildings that we want.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Again, my opponent talks about fixing things, but he never comes up with details. How is he going to fix things? It's so easy to sit there and say, I'm going to fix this, I'm going to fix that. This is a very complex city. We have a lot of things going on. A lot of work needs to be done. We're moving forward, and we do everything we possibly can to make this city better. And again, more walkable, more bicycle friendly, and trying to keep cars off the road.
Thank you. The next question will be for Mayor Rilling to begin, and it is continuing in the theme of improvement. Are there specific initiatives or plans in other cities that you would like to replicate in Norwalk?
It's kind of funny because when I visit with other mayors, they're always telling me, hey, Norwalk, what are you doing? Norwalk's eating our lunch. A lot of people want to replicate what we're doing. We formed a cabinet government, which is much more efficient. We've downsized our employee workforce. We're saving money. We're doing the things that we need to do to identify where the problems exist. So I'm not so sure that many of the other communities around us are doing things that we would want to replicate. We're a leader, and people see that. We always get on, we are always members of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities, US Conference of Mayors. I communicate with mayors all over the country. We talk about best practices. What can we do? What can we learn? And we have to be proactive. We have to research those best practices. But like I said, Norwalk has been a leader for a long time now in how to get things done, how to make your city more vibrant, how to make your city more livable.
Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Yes, I'm curious who's actually saying Norwalk's eating their lunch. I'd be surprised. 8 years of growing government is true to a Democrat policy. I've never met a Democrat that doesn't want a bigger government. And saving money, yeah, if you're saving money but also increasing the budget $80 million each year, that's not really saving money. A city that I would like to see replicated here is similar to what they're doing in Tennessee and Franklin, and especially around Nashville, which is a very vibrant area and growing area. It's one of the best places in the country right now that is massively growing with residents. And just to address the issue of all-day parking, in order to fix that, there's plenty of cities here in Connecticut as well as New York that have 2-hour time limits, and the parking meters go around marking tires. If you're there for more than 2 hours, you get a ticket. It's very simple. People don't like to have tickets, and they'll move their car.
Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
If you get a ticket for parking overtime, that's not free parking, is it? So, but anyway, there are many people that are looking at the city of Norwalk and they're saying, hey, Norwalk is a wonderful place. Talk about taxes. I ask the people of city, check your tax bill from 2014 and compare it with your tax bill of 2022. Across the city, taxes, the average tax rate went down. And they can verify that by getting online and looking at their tax bill from the past 8 years.
Thank you. Jonathan, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, the tax bill, okay, it's gone down a de minimis amount. But when you're talking about increasing the annual budget of government, that's not saving money. That's spending more money along with property values that are bringing in more money. So we need to spend our money better and cut government waste.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Riddle, you will begin. The property tax rate in Norwalk is about 24 mil. What's your long-term feeling on the city's fiscal stability and the ability of the tax base to help deliver needed services in the future?
Well, two things are going to happen. Number one, a reevaluation is going to be coming soon in the next couple of years, and property values have increased tremendously over this pandemic as we took in New York refugees who were fleeing the communist state of New York. So, it's single-handedly revived our real estate market here, which, that's thankful. However, if this administration is allowed to continue, what's going to happen is your property taxes are going to go up because your property values are going to increase the amount of tax revenue this city gets, and they're going to spend more if you give them more. So we need to put in an administration as well as a common council that's going to thoughtfully look at your money in a fiduciary manner and spend that money in a thoughtful and fiduciary manner.
Mayor Rilling, 90 seconds.
Property tax is one of the most regressive taxes you can have. And unfortunately, it's controlled by the state of Connecticut. But when your property values go up, the mill rate through strong fiscal management can come down. Your property values going up doesn't necessarily equate to your property taxes going up. And it's through smart growth, smart development. We're bringing in new businesses. We're in the past 8 years, our grand list has grown by $1.6 billion. That means more revenue coming in, meaning we can be more responsible in spending. Again, check your tax bill from 2014 to 2022 and look at the difference. You're going to be surprised. A lot of people don't realize that, but property taxes controlled by the state. We're one of 4 states in the country that rely so heavily on property taxes because we don't have county government. But they're regressive taxes because they're income and profit blind. If you're not making an income, unfortunately, your property taxes are due. If you don't have a profit, unfortunately, your property taxes are due. We need total property tax reform, and it needs to come in the form of a state legislature.
Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
Thank you. So you look at Norwalk, 90% of our revenue comes from property taxes, and I agree that that's a regressive tax. However, we need to work with our state representatives to get our proper ECS funding for the education system. And when we improve the education system and get our fair share, since we have had an influx of so many English learners, the state needs to pay its fair share to Norwalk. We have far been behind that, and the mayor needs to step up and work with our state representatives to bring that in order to relieve the Norwalk homeowner from paying so many taxes.
Thank you. And finally, Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
We have that conversation on a regular basis, at least weekly, with the state legislatures and how we can get more money for our ECS. And it's a tough one because there are a lot of other towns around that they get a lot more, and they're not ready to change the formula. We are getting more money than we have in the past, thanks to our state delegation, and I appreciate that. And we're continuing to work to see what we can do to make that happen.
Thank you. The next question is an important topic, and it is about the American Rescue Plan Act. The first to answer will be Mayor Rilling. The question is slightly different for both of you because I think that's only fair. Norwalk is receiving a significant amount of funds, $39 million, from the American Rescue Plan Act. It's perhaps a once-in-a-generation opportunity to solve some of Norwalk's issues. Mayor Rilling, how did you solicit public input regarding this funding, and what recommendations has your administration made to allocate these funds? Mr. Riddle, please outline how you would have solicited feedback from the community to ensure that the funds are spent in an impactful way, and what priorities do you feel are especially important to focus on? We'll start with you, Mayor Rilling, for 90 seconds.
As you mentioned, we're receiving nearly $40 million from the Federal American Rescue Plan Act. Over the next several years, it doesn't all come in at one time. This is to help us recover from COVID-19, where many people lost their jobs, many people were facing eviction, and it's a challenge. So we've identified over 150 projects and initiatives in Norwalk, many in South Norwalk. These projects are truly community-driven, reflective of what residents have told us they want to see in their neighborhoods. We also plan to use the rescue plan funds on expanded community services for residents, such as providing eviction support, homelessness interventions, behavioral and mental health programs, workforce development, and training. Moreover, we're also planning on some early childhood programs to help prepare young people to go into the school system. We will use the rescue funds to create small business loans, incubator programs to support local businesses, especially those that are women and minority owned. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We get this spread out over 2 years. We also are keeping our tax base flat, but we've got a lot of things that we can use this money for that heretofore was unfunded, that will create jobs and create protections for people who need to recover from COVID-19.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
I really didn't hear how he solicited public input on how to use that money, but how I would go about that is, number one, have open meetings in the city hall and have our residents, I would send a letter out to every single resident notifying them how much money we're getting, and we need their input into what Norwalk needs. We want to hear from you. So that's number one, what I would do. And what I think Norwalks need to focus on is special education. That needs a massive uplift and funding, as well as parental support in the education department. Second to that is business support. Those businesses that were severely hurt by COVID, to help them get out of debts, as well as uplift them to restart their businesses if they have had to shutter their doors, as well as increasing jobs in Norwalk. And then finally, and probably one of the most important things that Norwalk needs, is fix our roads and sidewalks so we have that livable, drivable, walkable, and beautiful area that businesses want to come and put here. As I understand, they're using roughly half of those funds to fix the flooding issues of poor mismanagement over the last 15 years, dating back to a previous administration, where our sewers and tunnels are clogged with debris and leaves, which haven't been cleaned out in a very long time.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
Yes, our Board of Education, our school system, is also receiving ARPA funds. They're getting approximately $22 million. So they have a lot of money to be able to help people, young students, recover from the backslide that they experience from distance learning. Also, as I said, we've identified over 150 projects, roads, infrastructure improvements, those kinds of things that are going to create jobs. So we're putting the money exactly where Mr. Riddle said he would put it.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
Yes, so we shouldn't have been waiting for COVID funds to do this. For the last 8 years, there's been a tremendous amount of neglect of our infrastructure, of our roads, of our sidewalks, and you can't just simply fix that by getting more money that is a one-time shot. It requires proper management going forward, and that's why we need a responsible, accountable City Hall.
Thank you. Well, of course, we had to have a question about masks. This one, you will begin, Mr. Riddle. A number of municipalities have already lifted their indoor mask mandates. When should Norwalk do the same? Moreover, what steps will you take to help the city return to normal?
This is a very important question. First of all, you should be free to choose to wear a mask if you desire. Okay. Upon the first day of my administration, I would remove the government mask mandate, forcing everyone to wear one. But that doesn't mean you can't wear one. So if you do choose and you want to choose to wear one, you should, and you could. And I advise anybody who's symptomatic to cover their mouth when they're coughing, either with a mask or be properly prepared when you're going into public. Wash your hands, stay strong, stay clean, eat the right diet and nutrition. And it starts with the education of what is actually a coronavirus, what is a flu virus, right? And it's an understanding of the actual science, not this fear-mongering political science that we have seen nationwide that has gripped us with death statistics and fear tactics on national media. So we need to actually educate our individuals and talk with doctors. Talk to your personal doctor. Understand what the virus is and protect yourself.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 90 seconds.
Yes, this has been a challenging time for us. And I've made the decisions that are tough decisions that are not popular with some people. And that's okay. I get it. People have different opinions. But when you walk into a doctor's office throughout the city of Norwalk and other places, they want you to wear a mask. I've been following the science from the very, very beginning, and I will continue to do so. You can find things online that say, well, the masks don't work. I can find just the same amount of things online that say they do work. I've been following the science, the CDC, my local health department, the state health department, and I think we've done the right thing. If you look, the flu is down. It was pretty much non-existent last year. What do you might attribute that to? The masks? I think so. We're watching closely. We will remove the mask mandate when we feel it's safe to do so. But if you look around right now, there's another variant coming. We're not out of the woods yet. We are still in the pandemic, and the way things are trending, we might be still in the pandemic for another 6 months. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping that the predictions are right, that by March of next year, we probably should have been in a position that we might have eradicated it. But we encourage people, Get vaccinated. You know, there are 12 people 12 and under cannot get vaccinated, or under 12. So those are the people that we have to protect as well. So we don't know who's vaccinated going into one of our stores, but we know there are children in there that are not vaccinated.
Yeah.
We have to protect them as well.
Thank you.
Well,
Mr. Riddle?
let's be very clear about something. You can never eradicate a virus that has animal hosts. So that's the same thing with the influenza virus and the same thing with coronavirus. It's here now and forever, and it'll be an annual thing that we have to deal with, just like the flu. The second to that, there's studies coming out right now, especially a Bangladesh one, 350,000 people spread across 6 different towns. They used treatment methods to increase mask usage. A cloth mask reduced transmission by 10%. A medical mask reduced transmission by 15%. Does it help? Yes, in a very small amount. And then you also have the Israeli
Time has
study.
expired. Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
I think he just proved masks work. They're not 100% effective, 15, 20% effective. That is fine. This is the deadliest pandemic to ever hit this country. Over 750,000 people have died from this coronavirus. You can challenge those numbers, but they're out there. This is a critical time in our nation and in the world, and we have to do everything we can to minimize the exposure and the spread.
Thank you. Next question, Mayor Rilling, will begin. According to the 2020 census data, Norwalk has grown 7% since the 2010 census. Do you feel we are managing the growth wisely? And how do you expect to manage the growth going forward? Mayor Rilling.
Well, you know, as I said earlier, people are taking notice of Norwalk. They want to live here. They want to work here. They want to send their children to our schools. We are a growing, vibrant community, but we're doing it in a smart and strategic way. We are developing around our train stations. We are developing around our urban core. You know, I find it interesting because people that have moved to Norwalk, maybe in the past 5, 6, 7 years, now want to stop others from moving here. But if you look at the development, it's going to increase our grand list, which it's doing. It's going to, there's been a minimal impact on our school system. If you look at the Waypoint development on West Avenue, there were 11 students that moved into that over 600 apartments. If you look at Head of the Harbor North, 1 student moved into that place. We're getting people who are empty nesters, who want to downsize. We're getting millennials coming back. We're getting young people who want to live in Norwalk. They want to be in a vibrant community. So managing continues by building smart, not overbuilding in the outer areas. We're developing our urban core. We're not building skyscrapers. We're not building in the surrounding suburban areas. We're focusing on our urban core, and that's what any smart city does.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I just want to add one more piece about COVID on the vaccinations. Delta is irrelevant when it comes to vaccinations. It infects a vaccinated and unvaccinated person, and children under 12 have literally 0% risk to COVID right now. So I just wanted to add that in. An Israeli study came out, over 2 million people with that. On the census of growing properly and growing responsibly, you know, it's funny. 4 years ago, he said people are starting to take notice of Norwalk. What happened in the last 4 years? They didn't take notice then. So we need to look at our growth. We need to look at our overdensity and overdevelopment, especially in the downtown areas, which, as I walk around Norwalk and talk to people, especially in the East Norwalk area, they don't want that transit-oriented district. They don't want their village identity eroded by this development and congestion and density, and further increasing the traffic. So we need to look at our city properly and develop in retaining that identity, not the density.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'll take a rebuttal on the coronavirus. You know, I don't know what numbers Mr. Riddle is looking at, but we have seen a significant increase in cases among young people and cases among children under 11 years old. You can verify those facts, and it's right there for everybody to see.
Mr. Riddle.
The fact of the matter is that Europe has been dealing with the Delta virus for a very long time, well ahead of us, and their children have been unmasked and in schools and have not been vaccinated, and they don't have a problem. We're experiencing that same situation right now where we're a year behind them, and these kids are resilient. They're able to handle the virus, and it's just like the flu for them. The fact of the matter is the
Thank you.
damage that's being done with the mask is irreparable.
Okay, time has expired. Question number 8, you will start, Mr. Riddle. What will be the benefit of now combining the planning and zoning commissions, and what changes need to occur for planning and zoning to best serve local and incoming business and development? 90 seconds.
Thank you. It's going to simplify the process for looking at our city with proper zoning as we're going through a citywide rezoning and regulation overhaul. It's going to eliminate unnecessary meetings as well as streamline operations in order for our residents and businesses to come in to understand the zoning and to understand how to develop in the area, what they can and cannot do. I think it's going to eliminate a lot of government waste, which is important when we're talking about combining committees and reducing costs and time and effort. Streamlining government and making government more efficient is always an improvement for the city. And we need to do that for our residents so we protect their bottom line, which the Norwalk taxpayers fund 90% of our tax bill. So I think it's going to be a very positive thing for the city, and I think it's going to be a very positive thing for residents and businesses alike.
Mayor Rilling.
It's going to remove a lot of duplication of effort, time-consuming things. It's going to make it easier to navigate the process, not only for businesses, but certainly for our residential communities. You know, we're doing a zoning rewrite for the first time in over 30 years, trying to make the zoning regulations more consistent with our plan of conservation and development. It's been the first, it's long overdue. But again, you know, there's duplication of effort that we see, somebody having to come before the planning commission, then they have to go before the zoning commission. This will reduce that and make things much easier. And I think it's going to be well received by the community. And it's something that was long overdue. We were able to get it done.
Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Just to reiterate, we don't need to spend too much time on this. I agree. It's going to eliminate duplicate efforts and make government better for the people.
Thank you. And Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
No, thank you.
Okay. The next question is for Mayor Rilling to begin. The Wall Street area has been in need of redevelopment and revitalization for a very long time. What will you do to ensure this area receives the attention it deserves?
Well, thank you. And, you know, you're right. And since the flood of 1955, that's been a struggling area. We have to do a better job. We have a development right now that's waiting. All it takes is for one person to withdraw an appeal of the zoning commission. And that project, which will bring boots on the ground, young people, will be much more affordable than some of the other places we've seen. That project can start tomorrow if that were going to happen. We have people who are interested in the lower Main Avenue area. We have the head of the harbor south that was built that has over 60 wonderful apartments right there on the water. We're starting to see businesses come into the into the Wall Street area. There's a lot of ground floor retail, if you'll notice, and those are the kinds of things we need to look at. And we need the redevelopment agency to really get in there, dig in their heels, and make sure that we attract businesses. I know that our Chief of Community and Economic Development has been very focused on that area, tracking people, visiting the businesses, finding out what they would like to see there, what we can bring there, as has our Director of Business and Tourism been reaching out to these businesses and finding out what we can do there. Remember, a lot of that property is all privately owned, so we have to work with the property owners to make sure that we can develop it appropriately and that we have their cooperation.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Perhaps Harry is afraid of saying the person's name. It's Jason Milligan. And, you know, the truth be told, Jason has done more for that area than this city has done in the last 8 years. The Tyvek Temple is a erected monument to Harry's failure to move that street forward and to redevelop that area. Jason's work there in working with the residents and the business owners has dramatically improved that entire area in the face of opposition from the redevelopment agency and the city constantly. They're currently going through an issue with Byron the baker. Here's an Ecuadorian immigrant who came here and spent $100,000 to build his bakery, and they're not giving him a certificate of occupancy because of a redevelopment agency argument over his facade. This is big government in play, and it's getting in the way of properly developing and bringing in businesses and improving that area. And nothing has been done in the last 8 years there by this city or the redevelopment agency, and that's not okay. So we need to get down to brass tacks. We need to stop being obstructionist in the way of properly developing and beautifying and making an area vibrant, such as Wall Street. Remove the ridiculous back-end parking. I've never seen that in my life. And reestablish a new business development and progress with a vision that's going to bring in businesses and make that area vibrant again.
Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
Again, with the baker, this is a very, very difficult situation, and we want to support the baker. We've met with the baker. We've explained things. Again, one small permit applied for by the building owner, the baker can open tomorrow. We've also put $2 million of ARPA funds in the Wall Street for infrastructure, redoing streets, redoing sidewalks. So improvements will be happening, and the money, it's also a match from state funds as well with the money that we're putting into the ARPA funds.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Without the redevelopment agency getting out of the way, that's going to be a waste of $2 million, just like the city wastes money constantly. It's kind of ridiculous. They can give him a temporary certificate of occupancy to start operating immediately. And the $2,000 fee is an arbitrary, unapproved pamphlet from 2006 that they're using from a footnote in order to strong arm Jason. So this is unacceptable, and we need to let Byron bake. That's just an unfortunate situation where he's caught in the middle of the city and Jason, and it needs to stop.
Thank you. Our next question, Mr. Riddle, you will go first. And it's Connecticut, so we have to have a question about marijuana. With the recent legalization of marijuana in Connecticut, do you approve of Norwalk hosting recreational dispensaries? And if so, how many and where within the city?
So the state determines how many storefronts you can have there. I would be in favor of it, but we need to do it thoughtfully and responsibly, and not in areas that are close to schools or playgrounds, etc. So in putting these locations in Norwalk, I don't want it to be like a liquor stores all over the city, but we can have maybe one or two. However, we need to educate the public in what we're doing. We need to regulate it very well in order to eliminate any criminality around it or any a downfall crime from it. So we need to educate people on the uses of marijuana. We need to regulate it properly and keep an eye on it to ensure that it's doing the proper things and not bringing in negative aspects to that area, and educate those residents that it's okay. And in my opinion, coming from a family that has dealt with the opioid crisis, marijuana is actually CBD specifically is very good at dealing with pain management, and I think should be a proper replacement for the opioid epidemic that we're having in this country. And it'll save lives, and it's, in my opinion, safer than alcohol, which is also another very destructive family destroying drug.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Yes, this is a very difficult question for any community. The state of Connecticut is looking for revenue. They also recognize that some of our surrounding states have legalized recreational marijuana. So people are going over the border and they're losing the revenue. And it's a simple matter of fact. We have not won the war on drugs by any stretch of the imagination, because the money was focused on strong law enforcement and not a lot of help for people who are addicted to drugs. We need to use some of that revenue to provide support services for people who need help, people who are addicted to drugs. That money should go to help people, to help lift them up, to help them through their addiction. It's critically important, educating the public, locating these in areas where they're not near schools, limiting the number of outlets that we would have so that they're not all over the place. And again, that will help with the state will help us with that. I know our zoning department will also help us with that, and we need to make sure we do it right. But a lot of that revenue has to go to help people, to help lift people up and get out of addiction.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
I completely agree. That'll be a very good use of money. Addiction is a horrible thing, and the opiate crisis has completely destroyed our country. So I agree with everything you just said.
Anything else, Mayor Rilling? 30 seconds.
No, thank you.
Okay. Next question for Mayor Rilling to begin. There has been a great deal of conversation regarding the number of new apartments added to Norwalk in the last several years. Do you think there is merit in adding this housing, and do we still need more?
Norwalk has grown by 6 or 7% since the last census. People are coming here. We need to provide housing, but we need to provide the right kind of housing. We need to help young millennials come back. They leave for college. They're not able to come back because of the cost of apartments. Fairfield County is very, very expensive. Norwalk is no different. We have to make sure that we provide the right sized apartments. We're going through zoning regulations now that will hopefully allow accessory apartments more widely so that young people can come home and live in an accessory apartment in their family's home. We also need we need to continue developing the urban core. If you look at the occupancy rate, people are saying all those apartments. Those apartments are virtually 100% full. Very, very few apartments are available. We have one of the best places I can point to is Soundview Landings. Beautiful remake of the Washington Village complex. That's what we need to do. That was the oldest housing project in the state of Connecticut, maybe in the country. What we've done is we've made market rate apartments there, affordable apartments, and subsidized. All people living together and working together and having the same amenities. Those are the things that work in a community. We need to do more of that.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Yes, there really is no clear planning for this administration and how to address my generation and what we want. There is clearly a generational disconnect here, and he's using an old textbook to look at density and developments around transit-oriented districts. We really don't want that. We like our cars, we like our licenses, and the focus of being so much on density is just out of control in this city, and it's increasing the traffic. So as we're looking at young millennials and what they want cheaper places to live. They don't want the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 rents that are currently here for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom. It's ridiculously unaffordable in the Northeast. And in order to retain that population, we need to lower the cost of living significantly in order to retain them. And we need to bring businesses that they'll actually work at and go and get good jobs. Because right now, the major cities in the country that are stealing away our young talent are Boston, places in Florida, Tennessee, Texas. These areas are all very attractive to young millennials that are growing and extremely vibrant, and we need to compete with that. So our cost of living is really hampering that ability to retain children who go off to college and never come back. So our population in Connecticut has gone down for the first time in so many years, and we're not retaining that young talent.
Thank you. Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you. On the generational comment, I will not make age an issue in this campaign. I will not, for political purposes, exploit my opponent's youth and inexperience. But we have a situation in Norwalk where people want to be here. We're doing the right things. Norwalk, we need to make it more affordable by the kinds of apartments that I'm talking about so that we can get people coming back, some micro apartments, smaller efficiency apartments, so we can attract those young people and get them here in our workforce.
Mr. Riddle.
Harry, if you're going to quote Reagan, you might as well say the quote from him and give him credit, because you can't take it as your own. But I will say, I'll quote Reagan, and there you go again, Harry, with density and it's something that we need to address in this city and properly redevelop.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, you'll be the first to respond to this question. We all benefit from a strong school system. As the mayor, what is your role with the Board of Education in Norwalk Public Schools?
So the Norwalk Charter states that the mayor is the chairman, and the Board of Education elects a pro tempore, which is Latin for the time being when the mayor cannot be there, chairman from their elected individuals. So as the chairman of the board, it's supposed to watch guard for the parents and ensure that the children are getting a proper education, ensure that the Board of Education and the Norwalk public school system is moving in a proper manner where our kids are going to get a world-class education, and make sure that the Board of Education is making the right decisions in favor of those children and not political ideology or in infections in the classroom. And people need to really start paying attention and review the most recent Board of Education meetings where they're talking about curriculum as well as equity in the classroom, diversity and inclusion. These things are all things that parents need to start paying attention to and looking at what they're doing in the classroom. So as the chairman of the board and part of the Board of Education, I would be a representative of the parents watching guard, as well as alerting parents to what's happening in our schools, and make them aware, as well as increase the parental involvement in our education system.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling.
Yes, thank you. Again, I've been the mayor for 8 years. There was a Republican 10 years, 8 years before that, a Democrat 4 years before that, and a Republican 14 years before that. Not one of the mayors prior to me has served as chairman of the Board of Education. We attend meetings, we sit there, we listen, we offer guidance where possible. My administration has been more active in Board of Education meetings than any administration before me. In fact, I meet on a regular basis with one-on-one with the superintendent of schools in order to help each other discuss what's going on, how we can move forward, things that the superintendent needs, issues that the city is facing, and we meet on a regular basis. I think our superintendent and our Board of Education are doing a remarkable job. They are the Board of Education people. They don't get paid, they're volunteers. They give a significant amount of their time. They are professional. They are working together, and they just put together that equity in education program, inclusiveness, so that all young people in our school system can end up getting a quality education that they deserve. They're entitled to that. We owe it to them, and we are giving it to them. Look at some of the colleges that our young people get in. We have the IBM program. We have the Center for Global Studies. We have a program where a high school student can get a 2-year college degree during graduation, when they're graduating.
Thank you. Mr. Riddle, 30 seconds.
Yes, true to his administration, in the last 8 years, he's delegated away all his duties and abdicated his responsibilities that the city charges him with. Just because this is how things have been done doesn't mean that you need to continue it. Poor policy is poor policy. Poor leadership is poor leadership. So those things need to change. And just because they were done that way in the past, we have a saying in finance, past results are no guarantees of future performance. We need to ensure that we're taking the right steps.
Thank you. Well, we have time for about one more question, and I have lots more I can ask you. So now it's up to me to pick the one that's going to be the last one. I think since we're sponsored by the Chamber, and this is the Greater Norwalk Chamber, I'm going to go with the final question about economic development. What do you envision in terms of a grand economic development plan for Norwalk? And what types of industry would you most like to attract?
Who is that going to?
Mayor Rilling, sorry.
Okay, thank you. As I said, we have a chief of economic and community development that is working with looking at what is good for Norwalk. We have a beautiful plan of conservation and development that deals with the economics, where Norwalk is going, how we're going to get there, times and accountabilities, and making sure that we end up going in the right direction, making the smart decisions. We're looking at things like boutique manufacturing, bringing some manufacturing back into the city. I don't think there's any limit on the kinds of businesses that you would like to see. Again, some boutique shops, we'd like to see that kind of thing. Manufacturing is something that we really feel is critical to bring back jobs into the city, to help young people. There's so many different things. Our business and community tourism director, again, is out there looking at opportunities where businesses can locate. And as I've mentioned, we've had over 400 businesses located in Norwalk in the last year and a half. I think that's pretty remarkable. And I think we're on the right track. We're moving forward. Norwalk is a vibrant, growing city. People want to be here. They want to work here. They want to send their kids to school here. So there's no limit on the kinds of businesses we would like to see, but manufacturing is certainly important among them.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I agree. There's no limit, and we shouldn't hamper ourselves by focusing on one industry. We should be inviting all industries. But true to just what I said in the last question, he's talking about other people doing the job, not him. The mayor is the face of this city, and we need to be working and be out there at the forefront, leading this development and working with that chief of economic development, and hand in hand with the mayor being the face of it. So we need to focus on bringing in more small businesses as well as large corporations with headquarters to replace those that have left Norwalk in the last 8 years and have left Connecticut even, and bring in more businesses from New York, from Massachusetts, from New Jersey, Pennsylvania. We should be looking and searching for companies that are looking for a new headquarters and put our bid in to say, hey, Norwalk is a beautiful place. We have the space, we have the talent. Come here and set up shop and put your headquarters here. And we've lost a lot of storefronts over the last 8 years, and we need to properly refill those. I see a constant turnover here on Washington Street in South Norwalk, as well as West Ave, and obviously Wall Street. We need to redevelop that so we can improve the storefronts there, as well as bring in new small businesses.
Thank you, Mayor Rilling, 30 seconds.
I guess when my opponent, if he were to win, he would be firing all his staff because he would be doing it all. You know, I meet with my staff, I direct everything they do. We have weekly cabinet meetings. So we've set our agenda, and I work with them on a basis, and I've hired professional people. I've gotten rid of that good old boy club that existed prior to me. I've hired professional people, going on nationwide searches to bring in the people that are most suited to set Norwalk in the right direction, and we are succeeding.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a village, right? And you need a proper team around you. So no, I wouldn't be firing everybody. That's ridiculous. I would be empowering people as well as working hand in hand with them. And you know, over my tenure as mayor, I'll state right now that I won't be taking a raise if the Common Council wants to give me one. I think the mayor makes more than enough money right now, and the Common Council doesn't need to raise that salary. So we need to properly have a team in place that's going to work and lead.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Now we're going to move to closing statements. Each of you get 2 minutes, and the order was determined by a coin toss. So we will start with Mayor Harry Rilling.
Thank you, Ms. Okesson, for hosting this or for moderating this. Thank you to the chamber. You know, in a few minutes, you're going to hear my opponent claim to have all the answers. You know, he's been here, what, 5, maybe 6, 7 years, and now he's ready to save us. You know, it's easy for him to promise the moon. The truth is he's never had to make the real, very difficult decisions that I've had to make in the past 8 years, especially the last year. And since I will be offering remarks first, I won't be able to clarify the misinformation that he routinely puts out there. So my administration has kept taxes low by growing the grand list through smart, sensible development centered around the train stations and urban core. I guess my opponent isn't familiar with Norwalk's downtown and neighborhoods. We are maintaining the individual identity of all the neighborhoods, Cranberry, East Norwalk, West Norwalk. Yeah, I don't know what Norwalk my opponent has lived in for these past few years, but the one that I've spent my entire life living and working in is a thriving, vibrant community. Over the last 20 months, as I've mentioned, over 400 businesses have opened in Norwalk. We were just ranked the 59th best city out of the total 100 best places to live. I think that's remarkable. People want to live in Norwalk. They want to do business in Norwalk. People move here for our diverse progressive schools. I've had people from Westport, Darien, New Canaan tell me, we came to Norwalk because of your school system. Remember, a city that isn't growing is dying. We are the 6th largest city in the state of Connecticut, and we're growing smartly and strategically. This is a very important election. Don't stop the progress that we're making. I ask for your support on November 2nd. Vote for Rilling for mayor, vote for row A across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan Riddle, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Kristin, and thank you for hosting this debate. We as a country get so focused on next year's midterm election, we forget that they matter very little in our daily lives. Municipal elections, especially this one, are the most important elections in our life. Your vote matters on November 2nd here. This election boils down to what you want your life to look like over the next 5 years. Today, our country is at a crossroads where there is no more middle ground. You're either with the left or you're not. Harry, while a good man, will blindly follow the mandates from Washington. I will not. I will always have Norwalk's best interest in heart. No shutdowns, no mandates. We will follow the actual studies in science, not politics. I believe we have all had enough of Harry's failed vision over the last 8 years, and we as a city together need a fresh perspective moving forward. As you've heard here today and last week in the previous debate, Harry Rilling is literally regurgitating his same message he said 2 years ago and 4 years ago. Like I said before, I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day. We have allowed him to kick the can down the road with regards to Wall Street for his entire administration. That Tyvek temple is a visual monument to the failure of his administration. It is time to move forward and eliminate the ridiculous obstructions stopping any progress in this city. Harry is out of touch with my generation and generation coming up. Whatever outdated textbook he is using, they are no longer in tune with the future of this city. I fear for the future of this city if he is allowed to continue. We should be working with individuals like Jason Milligan, who have brought more business operating under an oppressive regime, dodging suppressive tactics by the city and redevelopment agency in order to bring businesses, jobs, and vibrancy to the city. I say let Byron bake. A mayor is supposed to work with all parties, not just the ones he has personal relationships with. When I am your mayor, I will look objectively at projects and ensure the best possible solutions for Norwalk and residents that contribute to the aesthetics that encourage more businesses to set up shop in our downtown areas and grow our city responsibly. Thank you for your time, and please make sure to vote row B on November 2nd to ensure positive change for our city and for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Rilling. Thank you, Mr. Jonathan Riddle. And, I'm sorry we couldn't be here in person, but one of the benefits of doing this on Zoom is we have recorded it and it will be shared on the Greater Norwalk Chamber of Commerce Facebook page. So this concludes this morning's mayoral debate. Please encourage others to watch and share this debate. And thank you to everybody who has tuned in today. And please remember to vote on November 2nd. So thank you to the candidates, the Norwalk community, and to everybody who joined us. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.